when we compare maybe the side that started against Manchester United, ultimately lost 4-1, do you think there's going to be any changes to that starting 11?
Given how Steve Bruce selects his side, it's really, really difficult to say. He's persisted with Jeff Hendrick on the right-hand side of midfield or in a central position when I don't think it's been necessary. Against Man U, we saw Joe Linton played on the right-hand side of really midfield, which was quite an interesting decision that ultimately, and not surprisingly, didn't work. If he persists with Joe Linton on the right-hand side, then, I mean, that'll cause uproar amongst the fan base. Obviously, uproar that can't be expressed in person inside the stadium. But you'd like to think that he'll change the side. I would like to see Almiron come in because obviously Almiron, I think, down at your place last season was probably our best player. He gave you a lot of trouble in the 1-1 draw. And I think he's the kind of player who... Wolves are excellent defensively. I mean, really solid. And the chances that we create anyways are minimal. Against you lot, it's going to be... it is really going to be scraps. And if you want a player who can maybe exploit space and get in behind whenever the ball is in your half, the few occasions that it is, Almiron's that type of player. For some reason, I'm getting the impression that Bruce doesn't necessarily fancy him because he hasn't started a league game this season. And against Man United at home, it was the ideal opposition, given how much in disarray that Manchester United defence was, the lack of confidence. Almiron was the man I thought to put in, but he didn't. He kept Henrik in. He, as I say, he brought Joe Linton in. Or Joe Linton had started against Burnley, but he'd started up front. He put him on the right midfield, and it was a disaster. Truthfully, I have no idea. I have no idea what side Steve Bruce will select. All I can see is I only hope that Joe Linton isn't in the side and Almiron is. And also there's an argument that maybe we need to take out Hendrick and bring Ryan Fraser in. However, Steve Bruce's logic as a manager seems to be good team, defensive players, bad team, let's try and attack a little bit more. Wolves come in that good team category. So I think there's always the fear that he sets up a team not to get slaughtered as opposed to a side to try and win the game. And if it's the former, then I would suggest that we will see either Hendrick or Joe Linton start and possibly either Almiron or Fraser come in. But as I say, I would rather it was those two players because we need to try and cause damage, and those two players can do that.
Score prediction, Norm?
Score prediction. Oh my God! I think there'll be a comfortable 2-0 win for Wolves.
Oh, right, okay. And just finally, before we go, just very quickly, I just wanted to get your view as a Newcastle fan on the potential European League split off. With the big boys in the league wanting to go and take their ball and play with it by themselves. What were your thoughts on it?
My thoughts are it's the next natural, repulsive, evolutionary step in a game that has been heading this way for a long, long time. As personally disgusting as I find it, and as sad as I find it, ultimately, I think it is almost inevitable. You think the conversations about this European Super League have been going on pretty much for 30 odd years now. Now, obviously, the Champions League in its current incarnation is more or less a type of European Super League, given the amount of games that the top teams actually play in it. And yeah, it's terrible. But those clubs aren't thinking of the fans who are going to struggle to attend away matches abroad, for example. They're thinking of it from a purely financial perspective. And if that's what they want to do, then there is pretty much nothing that fans of clubs like ours can do to stop it. And ultimately, we just have to, say, well, all the best. We'll just enjoy our league on our own, and that's how it is. It's awful, but it's not surprising. And ultimately, if they go, good riddance. It is the fans of those clubs. I think fans, like the majority of fans, again, I can't speak for all fans, but the majority of fans, I think, of those clubs would rather they kind of continued in the league in their own country, because obviously access to games is a lot easier. There it is. I don't know how you feel, because obviously Wolves, give it 5 years, you could be one of those top 6 sides,
Oh yeah, we'll be going off with them. But no, Norm, I think it's probably more of a chance that Newcastle or Wolves could win the league if the top 6 aren't in there, certainly. And that would have been the case last season for Wolves anyway. Well, best of bad luck, of course, for the weekend, and we'll hopefully catch you the rest of the season.
Thank you, mate. Pleasure.
Norm is a great guy. Always a great away perspective from him, Harry. And to be fair, unfortunately, the funniest part of the away perspective was the bit we didn't record, because once he stopped recording, I sort of triggered him a bit. And it was sort of by accident, but he hates, and you can tell from the away perspective, hates Steve Bruce, and they hate the way they're playing football at the moment. But the things he was saying, just resonated so much because he was saying, yeah, the performances aren't there. Yeah, okay, it looks like we've had a great start, 7 points or whatever it is Newcastle got just from memory. And, doing well in the cup and stuff. But he said, we don't pay money to look at the league table. We pay money to be entertained, and they're not being entertained. And obviously when you've gone from someone like Rafa Benitez to someone like Steve Bruce, you're going to have a fall in the quality of football that's being played. I mean, do you see parallels there between Wolves and Newcastle?
I do, but to be honest, when they were under Rafa, they loved Rafa, but their football was pretty similar. It was pretty negative, but they never liked Steve Bruce from the off, did they? I think he's done a pretty decent job, but I know that's easy to say as a Wolves fan looking at it from the outside in. But I do see, but it's slightly different, isn't it? 'Cause we all love Nuno, we all worship him, so we kind of give him the benefit of the doubt. But Bruce, he's like an old school manager, isn't he? He's defence before attack, like you said, on the away perspective. So he's not going to go all out for the win. He's going to try and set up solid first, keep a clean sheet, and then try and nick a few goals. But it's mad for the Toon fans because they've been in such a weird place for the last 10 to 15 years and they're never really happy with who comes in as manager, and it's negative football. And Steve Bruce is really he can't win, can he? Because they hated him from the off, and whatever he does, they're just not going to like him, are they?
No. In terms of starting 11, Bayliss, we obviously talked just previously that you'd probably keep the back three the same.
What's happening at Newcastle?
Oh, go on then if you want. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Go on. I mean, you've done it before, haven't you? I don't. Yeah, go for it. Yeah.
No, in all fairness, I can see why they're unhappy as a fan base, but do they have to lower their expectations? Is what I think. They can't sell the club. It's not. People don't want it. The one lot that did had to pull out.
Well, they do, but you got like turned down.
I genuinely think they've got to lower their expectations at the moment. When Wolves were shit, we were perfectly content with the fact that we had to focus on what we could do the best we possibly could, which was getting out of League One, cementing the play, whatever it happened to be at the time. Newcastle have now got to go and do the same thing. They're not a big club anymore, sadly.
I think they are a big club, but I know what you mean. On the pitch, they're not, but their fan base is huge. They've got amazing. Their away following is the best in the country, like in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm not doubting any of that. Doubting any of that. It's one hell of a place to go for football unless you're an away fan.
There's a difference between a big club and big support, though, isn't there?
Do you take your telescope with you?
Yeah, mate. I love it. I love going away to Newcastle. It's quality.
But that said,
I just want to say, I know a few Newcastle fans. They are realistic at where they are. They don't think they deserve to be pushing for like the Europe.
What would be realistic? Do you reckon, Harry?
Well, they got Mike Ashley. He did spend a lot of money, didn't he? He was the manager? I can't remember now. But they had a window where they spent loads in January a few years ago. And the manager slips my mind now. But anyway, they did. So Mike Ashley after that, but that was his last one. I think they still got relegated that year. So they know that they're just going to keep trying to survive in the Premier League until Mike Ashley leaves. They need a new owner to come in, which they thought they were going to get and they didn't. So right now, every Newcastle fan I speak to, because my dad lives in Ashington up there, they know where they're at. They're not unrealistic in their expectations, but they do think, like Wolves have, they want a big owner to come in, have some money thrown at it, and then potentially push towards the top six then. I think they're realistic about where they are.
What is it, though?
Funny, though.
Sorry.
It is funny, though, isn't it? Because you see someone like Newcastle and the fans are absolutely hammering Mike Ashley, calling him a terrible owner. He's terrible with the way he treats his employees, whether it be sports director or whatever else, and calling into question him as a person, but are quite happy for a consortium from Saudi Arabia to come in to buy a club just because it's money. It just doesn't make any sense to me. I think it just throws away the whole argument.
Yeah, totally. Beheadings.
Nah. Yeah. Minimum wage, terrible. Yeah.
Stoning gays to death. Minimum wage.
Yeah, so they're just calling into question that. But like I said, Bayliss, the back three you want to stay the same. I'm guessing you're going to take Sace out and put Marcel in.
Yeah, I think you've got to. I think that's our best team, isn't it? Looking at it, but I do think we're struggling in the wing back position. I think it's something that we've got to revisit again. If Marcel's going to struggle with injuries, we don't really know, do we? But Semedo's got to prove himself eventually. We can't get to Christmas and still keep getting destroyed down the wing and not having the attacking flare down the wings as we did. At the moment, the goals seem to come through Traore or Podence or Neto, whereas before we had that nice overlap with Johnny or Doherty. It seems like an element of Wolves' game has been taken away from Wolves at the moment.
Harry, Moutinho and Dendoncker, or Neves and Dendoncker, or Neves and Moutinho. I thought Moutinho looks a bit leggy. I think his legs are starting to go. He's turned 34 last month, of course.
Either or, mate, but whatever it is, Dendonker's nailed on, isn't he? So it's him and either Moutinho or Neves. Maybe he puts Neves in because he had that little rest. I can only assume it was down to fitness because I thought Neves was going to start, but Nuno always surprises, doesn't he? Who would have thought Say should have been left wing back? But yeah, predicting Nuno's teams these days is pretty hard. Whereas you go back to last year, we could all predict it, couldn't we? He never changed it. So anyone's guess, but yeah, Dendonker and probably Neves if I had to guess. And yeah, that's probably the one.
And 3 up front.
See, I don't know. I think because of how bad it was first half, he might change it up and go with like Raul and Traore or just Raul and Neto, maybe, or start Traore from the off. But it's a bit harsh on Podence and Neto then with the 3. But I think we might see a change. We might see one extra man in midfield.
Score prediction, Dan?
I'm going to go for a pessimistic 1-1.
Harry?
I think we're going to match Man United's score and beat them 4-1 and shake off the bad first half performance syndrome.
Okay.